You admire power, yet you fail to notice the single law that governs it. Power never chooses the strongest, the loudest, or the boldest. It chooses the mind that has already prepared for what others ignore. Today, we expose why the unprepared are ruled and why the prepared quietly rewrite the rules. Look around you. Every downfall you witness, every humiliation you see, every betrayal whispered behind closed doors. All of it originates in one fatal miscalculation. People expect power to reward hope, emotion, or effort. But power is indifferent. It bends only to those who anticipate its demands before it speaks, to those who sharpen their minds long before opportunity unveils itself. In this world, fortune does not smile on the knave. It merely tolerates them until a more prepared mind arrives. And when that moment comes, the throne shifts silently. No clash, no ceremony, only the quiet realization that someone else had been studying the battlefield long before the war began. Tonight, you will learn why preparation is the highest form of power, and why those who rely on luck, passion, or wishful ambition are destined to kneel before those who study the shadows. Power is rarely taken in the moment. It is taken long before the moment arrives. The battlefield is decided in the mind of the one who prepared while everyone else slept. Consider the rulers who shaped history. They did not triumph because they were stronger, louder, or more favored. They triumphed because they sharpened their minds in silence, calculating every shift in the political winds before their rivals even noticed a breeze. Ask yourself, do you understand the terrain you walk on? Or do you merely react to forces that someone else has already prepared for? Look at Cesare Borgia. People praise his daring, his charisma, his ruthless momentum. But these traits were not the source of his power, they were merely the surface. His true dominance came from preparation so meticulous that even chaos seemed to move according to his design. While others relied on reputation or inherited loyalty, he studied the ambitions of every ally, the fears of every rival, and the psychology of every commander. He understood that a prepared mind transforms uncertainty into a weapon. You may think this is distant history. The same principle rules your workplace, your relationships, your ambitions. Those who prepare in silence pull strings you never saw. They walk into rooms already knowing who supports them, who fears them, and who is secretly plotting against them. By the time you form a strategy, they have already anticipated it, countered it, and placed you exactly where they want you. Is that paranoia? No. It is the natural architecture of power. Most people pride themselves on confidence. They mistake self-belief for strength. But confidence without preparation is simply noise wrapped in bravado. It collapses the moment someone with a sharper mind applies pressure. Think of the colleague who always predicts a crisis before it arrives, who always has a solution before others recognize the problem. People call them talented, lucky, intuitive. In reality, they have been preparing for the patterns you refuse to see. They observe quietly. They listen when others speak carelessly. They recognize hidden motives in gestures, tone, hesitation. They catalog intentions, weaknesses, and alliances long before any confrontation begins. Preparation is not academic. It is psychological warfare. When you know what someone desires, you know how to move them. When you know what someone fears, you know how to trap them. And when you study the terrain, whether political, social, or emotional, you no longer play the game, you design its rules. But here is the uncomfortable truth. Most people avoid preparation because it demands something they cannot give. Discipline, patience, and the humility to accept that their natural instincts are not enough. They prefer improvisation because it flatters the ego. It lets them believe they are clever without ever proving it. Power exposes this illusion with brutality. History is littered with men who trusted their charisma over their caution, who marched forward with passion but not foresight. They reached for the throne, only to find it guarded not by strength, but by someone who had been studying them for years. Someone who knew their habits, their pride, their blind spots. Someone who had weaponized preparation to make every move look effortless. You have encountered these people before. The friend who senses your hesitation before you speak. the rival who always strikes at the exact moment you are weakest, the partner who subtly steers conversations without you noticing. These are not accidents. These are rehearsed strategies. Preparation turns the silent observer into the quiet architect of outcomes. It gives you the ability to anticipate betrayal before the first rumor spreads, to predict conflict before the first insult is delivered, to shape alliances before your enemies realize one is forming. Ask yourself when a crisis hits, do you panic? Or do you recognize it as the moment you prepared for? Power rewards the mind that treats every interaction as reconnaissance, every conversation as intelligence, every decision as a calculated step toward a larger plan. In this world, you do not rise because you desire power. You rise because you prepared for it long before anyone else thought to compete. And now the question becomes, if preparation is the weapon, what happens when you begin to make it invisible? There is a specific kind of power that never announces itself. You do not hear it. You do not see it. You simply feel its influence, like a hand guiding events from behind a curtain. This is the psychology of unseen readiness. While ordinary people display their efforts, the intelligent conceal them. They understand a simple truth: once others can see your preparation, they can predict it, copy it, or sabotage it. If they believe you are unprepared, unaware, or harmless, they lower their guard. And that is when your advantage becomes lethal. Ask yourself, how much of your strength do you reveal too easily? And how many opportunities have slipped through your hands because others saw your intentions before you acted? History is filled with rulers who mastered the art of hidden preparation. Consider the rise of the young Ottoman prince who would become Mehmed the Conqueror. His court saw a boy immersed in studies, seemingly isolated from the political machinations around him. They mistook his quiet for weakness. They misread his silence as inexperience. But beneath that calm exterior, he was learning fortress design, naval strategy, engineering, diplomacy, and the psychological weaknesses of European courts. When he finally moved to seize Constantinople, the world acted surprised. It wasn't surprise. They had simply failed to notice the preparation he never showed. That is the essence of unseen readiness, the ability to let others underestimate you while you prepare to overwhelm them. In your own life, the same dynamic rules. Think of the coworker who appears carefree but always delivers flawless work, or the quiet student who speaks rarely but destroys every exam. People call them gifted, natural, lucky. They are none of these things. They simply prepare in silence, refusing to feed the vanity that drives most people to showcase every effort. You, too, have felt the sting of being outmaneuvered by someone you dismissed, someone you believed harmless, someone you thought was not watching, not planning, not calculating. Why were you caught off guard? Because they hid the very thing you assumed did not exist: their readiness. Visibility invites resistance. Invisibility grants freedom. When others see your ambition, they block it. When they see your knowledge, they challenge it. When they see your strategy, they counter it. But when they see nothing, they plan for nothing. This is why the most dangerous individuals in any environment are often the most unassuming. Their strength is not loud, it is layered. Their preparation is not obvious, it is disguised within routine gestures, passive expressions, and polite detachment. You speak freely around them. You reveal your fears without caution. You expose your intentions without realizing it. And by the time you discover their true capacity, it is too late. Have you noticed how manipulators operate? They rarely show their hand. They ask small questions. They listen more than they speak. They make themselves appear agreeable, neutral, safe. But while you talk, they analyze. Every hesitation reveals vulnerability. Every emotional outburst exposes a lever. Every contradiction becomes a point of pressure. When you finally clash with them, you face someone who knows far more about you than you know about them. Their readiness was invisible. Yours was non-existent. The irony is that most people crave recognition more than advantage. They want others to see their effort, applaud their steps, validate their growth. This desire is a weakness exploited by anyone who values victory over validation. Unseen readiness requires the opposite mindset. It demands that you relinquish the need to be admired in the short term in exchange for dominance in the long term. You train in secret. You study quietly. You build skills without announcing them. You accumulate knowledge without displaying it. And because no one expects anything from you, your rise feels sudden, almost supernatural. But nothing is supernatural. It is simply preparation cloaked in silence. Ask yourself, what would happen if you removed every visible sign of your ambition? If the world stopped seeing your preparation and only saw the results you chose to reveal? Would your influence become sharper? Would your enemies become slower? Would your opportunities multiply? Unseen readiness transforms you from a predictable participant into a silent architect, which raises a more unsettling question. If hiding your preparation gives you power, what happens when you begin to control information itself? Power does not belong to the most passionate. It belongs to the one who knows more than everyone else in the room. When two men argue, one who speaks louder appears dominant, but the one who listens, truly listens, walks away with the real advantage. Emotion creates noise. Information creates control. Ask yourself when you enter a conversation, do you seek to express yourself or to understand the battlefield you are stepping into? Throughout history, those who mastered information shaped the world more effectively than those who mastered armies. Consider the rise of Cardinal Richelieu. He did not command battalions. He commanded knowledge. He knew the ambitions of nobles before they announced them, the debts of rivals before they confessed them, the weaknesses of kings before they recognized them. While others fought with steel, he governed with secrets, and secrets, handled with precision, eclipse any weapon forged in iron. You underestimate the power of information because you drown in emotion. You react too quickly. You reveal too much. You assume honesty is noble and openness is strength. But every word spoken in emotion feeds the one who listens with discipline. You hand them leverage without realizing it. You expose your desires, your fears, your wounds, and they record these details with quiet patience. In your workplace, consider the colleague who asks casual questions. How's the project going? Feeling stressed lately? What do you think of the new manager? You answer without caution. You vent. You express your frustration, your doubts, your hopes. They appear supportive. They nod sympathetically. But what they are truly doing is gathering ammunition. Ammunition they will deploy the moment it protects their interests. Emotion blinds you. Information binds others to your will. Think of politicians. They survive not by revealing their feelings, but by gathering intelligence on the feelings of their people. They monitor whispers, rumors, alliances. They shape public sentiment long before the public realizes they have been shaped. A ruler who governs by emotion becomes a puppet of the crowd. A ruler who governs by information manipulates the crowd itself. Which role would you rather play? People imagine manipulation is loud, dramatic, confrontational. In reality, the most effective manipulation is subtle, informational, invisible. A single well-placed fact can shift an alliance. A single whispered detail can sow distrust. A single insight into someone's insecurity can steer their decisions without them ever knowing why. Consider a simple example. Two candidates are competing for a promotion. One works harder, speaks confidently, makes grand promises. The other studies quietly. He learns the manager's priorities. He observes the team's weaknesses. He notes the department's vulnerabilities. He identifies which co-workers can be swayed and which ones are too proud to influence. And when the moment arrives, he doesn't need passion. He needs one piece of information delivered strategically to shift the outcome entirely. While the emotional candidate fights with energy, the informed candidate wins with precision. Ask yourself, how often have you lost because you relied on emotion instead of knowledge? The person who controls the information flow controls perception. Control perception, and you control reality. This is why intelligence agencies strike fear without firing weapons. They deal in truths, half-truths, and the strategic placement of knowledge. Their power emerges not from force, but from what they know, and what others don't. Your personal life is no different. In relationships, arguments escalate because both sides throw emotion like weapons. But the one who understands patterns, fears, attachment tendencies, and hidden desires quietly shapes the dynamic. They speak with intention. They withhold with intention. They time their reactions with intention. They don't dominate emotionally. They dominate informationally. And here is the secret most people never learn. When you govern your emotions, you gain control over yourself. When you govern information, you gain control over others. The wise learn to do both. The moment you stop reacting and start observing, the entire landscape shifts. People reveal themselves through carelessness. They expose their motives while trying to hide them. They confess their weaknesses in the way they speak, move, hesitate. And if you are attentive, calm, and strategically silent, you collect everything you need to influence them without force. Now ask yourself one final question. If controlling information grants you this much power, what happens when opportunity enters the equation? Power does not reward those who hope. It does not bow to those who dream. It bends only to those who anticipate, who calculate, who act with precise timing. Ask yourself, have you ever waited for the right moment to arrive only to find it taken? That is because opportunity does not knock for those who dream. It bows to those who have rehearsed, observed, and prepared long before the moment appeared. Consider Napoleon Bonaparte. He did not stumble into greatness. He rose by recognizing moments that others overlooked. While kings and generals were complacent, celebrating past victories or indulging in routine, he studied the battlefield, the logistics, the temperament of his soldiers, the weaknesses of his enemies. When opportunity appeared, he was not merely ready. He had anticipated its arrival years in advance. And by the time others understood the stakes, he had already rewritten them. The strategist sees what the dreamer cannot. The dreamer waits for fortune. The strategist bends fortune to his design. In your own life, opportunity is rarely obvious. It does not arrive with a fanfare. It hides in subtle signals, a hesitation in a colleague's decision, a pattern in a rival's behavior, a weakness in a competitor's strategy. Most people ignore these signs because they are distracted by emotion, expectation, or the illusion of luck. And when the moment finally appears in full, they are unprepared, reactive, and easily outmaneuvered. Ask yourself, do you prepare for patterns, or do you wait for surprises? Do you anticipate the moves of others, or do you hope they do not act first? Do you control the battlefield, or do you arrive after it has already been won? The history of power is littered with dreamers who believed that audacity alone would create opportunity. They acted boldly but without foresight. They assumed that courage could substitute for preparation. And yet, courage is hollow without insight. Passion is wasted without anticipation. Dreams are fragile, strategy endures. Consider the cunning of Queen Elizabeth I. Her court teemed with intrigue, each noble vying for favor. She could have ruled by whim or charm alone. Instead, she mastered the art of timing, reading every letter, every rumor, every subtle glance. When Spain prepared to invade, she did not panic. She had already cultivated alliances, stockpiled resources, and trained her commanders in ways her enemies never imagined. She waited, silent and observant, until the perfect alignment of preparation and circumstance allowed her to strike decisively. Opportunity rewards the same discipline today. It is not the one who announces ambition that gains the advantage. It is the one who shapes ambition behind the scenes, who positions themselves in advance, who sees 3 moves ahead while others are distracted by 2. In your personal and professional life, look for patterns. Observe tendencies. Analyze habits. Notice what others overlook in their haste, in their arrogance, in their overconfidence. The strategist uses this information to bend reality. The dreamer simply reacts when the door opens, and often finds it locked. Most people believe that timing is random. They speak of luck, of chance, of fortunate coincidence. This is the language of the unprepared. The prepared mind understands that timing is never random. It is cultivated. It is recognized. It is created. Ask yourself, what opportunities pass you by because you failed to anticipate them? How often has hesitation allowed someone else to seize what could have been yours? How many victories remain out of reach simply because you reacted instead of planned? The strategist does not merely wait. He observes, he prepares, he calculates. And when opportunity presents itself, he moves with certainty, knowing that the groundwork has already been laid. The question, then, is not whether opportunity favors you. It always favors someone. The question is, will it favor the dreamer or the strategist? And when you understand this, you begin to see that every moment carries a hidden choice, and the next move you make determines whether you are the architect of your fate or merely a witness to someone else's design. Power tests all who claim it, and pressure is its most merciless instrument. When calm persists, the weak appear strong. But when chaos arrives, their cracks are revealed, and their rivals move with precision to exploit them. Ask yourself, how do you respond when the walls close in? Do you adapt, or do you fracture? Do you recognize danger, or do you let fear dictate your actions? History is unforgiving to the unprepared. Consider the fall of Charles VI of France during his Italian campaigns. He entered Naples with confidence and fanfare, expecting triumph. Yet the complex web of alliances, rivalries, and local loyalties turned pressure into a trap. His army was strong, his ambition bold, but under the stress of unfamiliar terrain and shifting politics, weakness emerged. Decisions faltered. Misjudgments multiplied. The world saw only his defeat, but the lesson lies in the pattern pressure exposes the unready, revealing vulnerabilities invisible in comfort. You, too, are tested by pressure. It appears not only in battles or empires, but in meetings, negotiations, and relationships. A sudden crisis, a sharp accusation, a shift in circumstances, these moments do not create weakness, they reveal it. And those who have trained themselves to withstand such tests seize advantage, while others flounder. The psychology is simple yet brutal under stress. People revert to instinct. Instinct is rarely strategic. Instinct is survival, not dominance. It betrays fear, pride, and insecurity. It exposes patterns and weaknesses that only the disciplined can exploit. Look at the manipulative strategies of modern leaders. The ones who survive scandal, economic turmoil, or betrayal are not those who avoid challenges. They are those who anticipate the reactions of others and have rehearsed their responses. The unprepared panic. They lash out. They betray themselves in moments meant to conceal intention. And every motion, every word, every hesitation becomes fodder for the patient strategist. Even in smaller arenas, the principle is identical. In corporate battles, the unready manager crumbles under a sudden market shift. In personal conflicts, the friend or lover who cannot handle pressure reveals true loyalty, or lack thereof. The weak cannot maintain facades when stakes rise. Pressure strips illusion from reality. Ask yourself, how often have you witnessed someone, strong, fail spectacularly under sudden strain? Their collapse is not surprising. It is inevitable. Their foundation was never built to withstand the storm. Contrast this with those who prepare. They anticipate crises. They rehearse responses. They understand the predictable patterns of human behavior under duress. When pressure hits, they do not panic, they pivot. They do not reveal fear, they exploit it in others. Their strength is forged in the anticipation of instability, making them formidable in every moment of upheaval. Consider the silent architects of history, the ones whose names rarely appear in textbooks, advisors, generals, and tacticians who stood behind the throne. When kings faltered in decision, these prepared minds did not falter. They absorbed chaos, analyzed it, and converted it into opportunity. Their power grew precisely because weakness around them could not withstand stress. Every crisis became a chance to seize influence, every misstep by the unready a foothold for advancement. The lesson is unavoidable. Pressure does not create weakness, it reveals it. And in every revelation, there lies an opportunity. If you can remain calm, observant, and calculating while others fracture, the battlefield, whether social, political, or personal, is yours to dominate. You do not need to be the loudest. You do not need to be the strongest. You need only be prepared to exploit the moment others cannot endure. So ask yourself this, carefully. When the next crisis arrives, will you crumble with the crowd, exposing your vulnerabilities for all to see? Or will you endure, observe, and turn the chaos into your instrument of control? Power often appears to favor luck. A coin falls a certain way, a storm delays an enemy, a stranger acts in your favor, and people call it fortune. But fortune, in truth, bows only to those who have disciplined their minds long before opportunity arrives. Luck is a mask for preparation. It is the reward of those who understand that chance is not random. It is predictable to the patient, the observant, the strategic. Ask yourself, how often have you envied another's luck? Did you see the years of unseen preparation that preceded it? Did you notice the silent accumulation of knowledge, skill, and patience that allowed them to seize the moment effortlessly while others scrambled? Consider the life of Julius Caesar. He was lucky, men say. The Rubicon, the goals, the alliances, fortune seemed to smile on him. Yet Caesar did not rely on fortune alone. He studied the habits of his enemies, the temperaments of his soldiers, the politics of the Senate. He anticipated every reaction, rehearsed every outcome, and disciplined himself to act decisively when the lucky moment arrived. Fortune rewarded him because he had created the conditions for her favor. In your own life, the principle is identical. Fortune does not visit the unready. It ignores the emotional, the impulsive, and the reactive. It waits for the mind that has catalogued possibilities, that has calculated risks, has built reserves of knowledge, patience, and strategy. The disciplined mind does not chase chance. It recognizes the patterns that make chance predictable. Observe the masters of influence in any era. The cunning advisors, generals, and tacticians often appear to be fortunate. Yet their advantage arises from years of invisible preparation. They have studied human behavior, anticipated shifts in alliances, and memorized the subtleties of circumstance. When opportunity emerges, they do not flail. They move with precision, exploiting every gap, every hesitation, every misstep. They make fortune appear as a willing accomplice to their will. Most people, however, treat fortune as a whim. They rely on charisma, on hope, on passion, or on fleeting emotion. When events go against them, they blame the world, complaining that luck has betrayed them. But luck is never blind. It merely favors those who have already done the work others ignore. The disciplined mind sees this truth and acts accordingly. Discipline is not merely self-control, it is the architecture of anticipation. It is the slow accumulation of advantages others fail to notice. It is the habit of preparation, observation, and timing. It is the understanding that moments of opportunity are fleeting, and only those who have rehearsed their response will seize them. Ask yourself, how much of your life has been lost to indecision, impulsivity, or unpreparedness? How many moments have slipped through your fingers because you relied on hope rather than strategy? Every missed opportunity is a lesson. Fortune will not forgive the inattentive. History rewards those who recognize this law. Consider the Medici family in Florence. Their rise was not chance, nor merely wealth. It was meticulous calculation, patience in alliances, and relentless observation of rivals and friends alike. They cultivated influence long before it was needed, moving silently behind the scenes, allowing fortune to appear as if she chose them. In reality, had created the conditions for her favor, bending events to their disciplined will. Even in smaller spheres, the principle holds. In negotiations, in careers, in personal relationships, the disciplined person shapes outcomes while the impulsive one reacts. The disciplined mind anticipates moves, understands intentions, and positions itself so that fortune appears as an ally rather than a capricious force. And here lies the ultimate lesson. Fortune does not favor the bold in a vacuum. It favors the prepared, the disciplined, the mind that has endured silent rehearsal, analysis, and vigilance. She bows to those who have mastered themselves, who have mastered their environment, and who act decisively when the moment arises. Ask yourself, when the next opportunity comes, will you rely on chance, or will you command it? Because those who discipline their minds do not wait for fortune to smile, they make her bend. And those who fail to learn this law will always be left watching, wondering why luck never chose them. Power is not seized with noise. It is whispered into being. It is shaped in silence, guided by knowledge, and executed with precision. The minds you influence rarely realize they are being guided. Their decisions, their loyalty, even their fears. They become instruments in your hands. Do you see now why the prepared always dominate? Why opportunity favors strategy over desire? Why fortune bows to the disciplined mind? Control is subtle. It is patience, observation, and the quiet orchestration of human behavior. Those who act without understanding, without anticipation, are merely actors on a stage designed by others. Ask yourself who holds the strings in your world. Are you the one pulling them, or are you being pulled? If you wish to sharpen your mind, to command without revealing, and to see the patterns others miss, comment your thoughts below. Subscribe to uncover more Machiavellian strategies that bend reality to your will. Share this knowledge with those ready to rise above the nave. Remember, power is never given. It is always taken silently, strategically, and without apology.